Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of Deep Dive Movie Reviews with myself, James, and Steve. We thought, as it's Christmas, it's the holiday season, we'd do something a little bit different, and we're going to be talking about our favorite Christmas movies.
Santa's coming to town!
Santa! Oh my God!
So each of us has picked 5 in no particular order, but most importantly, we haven't conferred about this. We haven't revealed our lists to each other, so hopefully we'll be able to surprise each other a little bit as we go along. But we have laid down one rule. There is one caveat, isn't there?
There is, James, and we kind of agreed with the ground rule we had was we figured we're both going to pick It's a Wonderful Life at some point in our 5. It is the quintessential Christmas movie. So we thought, much like in American baseball, they'll retire the number of a famous player. If somebody, if somebody wins a award too many times, they say, okay, we pay you your homage, your dues, and we're going to give it to someone else. So this is a great movie. This is a quintessential Christmas movie. James, why is it the quintessential Christmas movie?
There's a lot of reasons. I think, first and foremost, I think it's a family movie. I don't just mean that it's family friendly, which it is, but it's about a family. It's about the sort of the coming together of Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed, and them follows them as they sort of overcome life's hardships, sort of the many bumps in the road over a number of years, and raise a brood together, and then it culminates quite spectacularly at Christmas time, where he faces this great sort of moment of self-doubt. He's hit rock bottom and he contemplates suicide, and then Clarence the angel comes down. So there's kind of a magical element to it as well, and I think that kind of nicely sort of ties in with sort of the Christmas spirit, if you like.
Yes.
I wouldn't say it's overtly religious or anything, but it has those themes in it, of sort of goodwill towards one another, and just living a good life, and those kind of things. And although Clarence is an angel, he's not like Archangel Gabriel or anything like that, but nevertheless, I think it's about rewarding somebody for having led a good life, and
yes.
Sort of recognizing that while you might be struggling, facing your individual struggles, that actually you've done a lot of good for other people,
and the importance that every one of us have on each other, because it really shows what happens had the Jimmy Stewart character never been born, the negative effects on the community, on individual lives. So it really, yes, it is a feel good movie. And Donna Reed is the all-American girl. She's in that movie. She is cute personified.
Oh, for sure. She's adorable. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's an American film. It's a Frank Capra film. So, it carries with it that sort of degree of credibility, if you like, or pedigree, should I say. I don't think it was as embraced so immediately in the UK. Mm-hmm. I think it is earned its place over time.
Frank Capra is very American, and it has a very American, middle America, small town America feel. 1950s, 1940s, 1950s. Definitely, it has that American vibe going.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you can't get more sort of quintessentially American than Frank Capra, really. But I think it has earned its place. I think that I can think of one or two other more recent examples of British movies that have become sort of Christmas movies, but we may end up talking about those, so I'm not going to bring them up now.
Yeah.
But I think we over time recognized it just as sort of the hallmark standard, if you like, of this is embodies so many of those sort of ideas of what Christmas spirit is all about.
My wife was just mentioning, because I told her that we were going to do this, and that we had retired It's a Wonderful Life because everybody has seen it. And she said, not everybody. I just ran into a neighbor who has never seen It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, I thought Tammy was about to say that she'd never seen
it.
No.
I thought, it wasn't, it was a Westerner too. It was somebody from the UK. So,
well, there you go.
There you go. Didn't cross the pond.
In the UK, it doesn't have quite the same status. It just doesn't. Nor do any of those sort of Frank Capra films. Not really. I mean, film people, you know, people who understand the importance of 40s cinema and what have you
Hmm.
will recognize Capra and Jimmy Stewart and those kind of stories. But they just take a little bit more work to
Mr.
get into
Smith,
the.
Mr. Smith went to Washington, not to Westminster, you know.
Well, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, anyway,
Anyway, should we start off with number 5?
go for it. So
Am I
these are
going
in
first?
no particular order, right?
Okay, I'll go first. My first is the most obscure of my selection, and it is you know, I should have looked up the year. It's an early 80s. I want to say 1981. Movie called The Fourth Wiseman, starring Alan Arkin and Martin Sheen. And in it,
I've never heard of this movie.
Yeah, it was a made-for-TV movie. It wasn't a theatrical movie, and I don't believe it's that long. I remember rewatching it not too long ago, and I only think it's about an hour long. It was a made-for-TV movie, so the production values were a little bit less than what you'd see in a theatrical run. But essentially, Martin Sheen, you always hear about the 3 wise men. Well, Martin Sheen was the 4th wise man, and he really wanted to get to see the birth of Christ. And he's going with his friends to there. And he gets delayed because he has such a kind heart, and he's always giving to those in need and people who are in crisis. And so he ends up missing the caravan that's going to follow the star and witness the birth of Christ. Long story short, he gets to the manger and they've already left. And he's basically always one step behind Jesus. He ends up, just when he's going to follow him into his earthly ministry, when he hears about him teaching, he has to go help a leper at a leper colony. And he's had these precious stones. You always hear the gold, frankincense, and myrrh. He had these precious stones that he was going to offer to the Christ child. And he through the course of the movie, he gets older and older. He's helping in this leper colony. He finally gets to, obviously Jesus is adult now and we're moving towards the crucifixion, and he hears about that they're going to crucify him. And he has one stone. He's always giving away these precious stones to help the leper colony or help get somebody out of something. And finally, he's going to barter Jesus's life. They're taking him to the cross. And there's a slave girl, the daughter of a person that he knew, and they're going to sell her into slavery. And in that moment, he can see Jesus heading up on the cross, and whether to give this for this child to keep her out of slavery. And it's just a beautiful scene where he's gotten so old now. He's so decrepit now. And the final scene is a resurrected Christ and Martin Sheen just telling him, you know, Lord, I my whole life I've been looking for you, and I once had precious gifts to give you. Now I have nothing to give you. And you only see the back of, you never actually see Jesus. You just kind of see over this shoulder type camera work. But he basically gives the from the parable, you know, them when you saw the sick and you tended to them, you know, that whole story.
Yeah.
Didn't you understand you were doing it for me? And it's just a beautiful Christmas story, and I love that movie.
Oh wow, yeah, I've heard the parable, definitely. As you were telling me the story of that, I was like, oh, I know this story. You know, I might have heard one of my dad's sermons about it or something like that. You know, I was like, okay, yes, all right, I will look out for it. Okay, well then I will start with my most obscure one. I wasn't sure whether to leave this one till last or what. Okay, so it's a foreign language movie.
Okay.
Heaven forfend. This is a Finnish movie from 2010, and it's called Rare Exports. It's often known overseas as Rare Exports: A Christmas Tale, but I think that was just tagged on by the American distributors just so that people to sell it. And this is a bizarre sort of fantasy, action, horror, family movie. From Finland, and basically it's all set in present day Lapland, and it follows a family of essentially sort of reindeer herders / slaughterers, who have a whole herd of reindeer that they're raising, and it's coming up to Christmas time, and it's right in Lapland, and there's some kind of sort of mining work going on up on the hill by a sort of an overseas kind of British American consortium is doing something dodgy up in the hills, and they discover that there's something buried right down in the mountains, and that it might have something to do with the ancient legend of Julupuki. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Which is, I don't know if you're familiar with kind of your Nordic Scandinavian twist on sort of Christmas mythology, but essentially they have it's quite different, and they have their sort of figure is what's this word again? I'm gonna get it right. Julupuki is a cross between Santa Claus and a kind of sort of demon or a sort of goblin or something like that. And so it goes is, instead of rewarding good children at Christmas, he will come on Christmas night and kidnap and do horrible things, possibly even eat naughty children. So the whole idea about, you know, getting a block of coal in your stocking if you've been bad or whatever is a hugely sort of watered down version. You may have heard of Krampus.
Oh, I have heard of Krampus. The character, yes.
Yeah, because I think they've made some sort of Western sort of horror, straight up horror movies,
I believe,
recently about that, and that is sort of originated from a similar kind of legend. But this essentially is sort of a family adventure. So essentially, the next morning they wake up. You know, they've been mining in the mountains. They've unearthed something. And they wake up the next morning, and the entire herd of reindeer have been slaughtered, and they think it's wolves. So the father builds like a pit trap outside their house, and then when they wake up on Christmas morning, something is down in the pit, and it isn't a wolf. And where it goes from there is utterly bizarre, but it's really good fun. It's kind of definitely, the director has been watching a lot of American action movies. Mm-hmm. So it's basically a father and son, and the other farmers head off into the mountains hunting down these kind of mythological Santa Claus style
demons,
creatures. Yeah, and it's what they choose to do with them, and how they interact with them, and what they are actually like when they find them. That really gives the film its sense of fun, and you know, in the old style of kind of, you know, family adventure movies or slightly dark children's movies. They used to get a lot in the 80s, but you don't really kind of get them anymore. You know.
Now are we talking? Is this a PG-13 or is this more R? Is there a lot of blood in this?
Definitely like PG or PG-13. I mean, it's got a slightly sort of dark sensibility because it's comes from Scandinavia,
right?
And they're, you know, and everything. So just a little bit kind of gothic, a little bit kind of twisted, a little bit folkloric, you know.
Oh, that sounds.
But it's definitely sort of fun for all the family. If you've got kind of older children, I think they really might enjoy it actually.
Okay.
It was something that I saw at a film festival about 10 years ago, and it really kind of came out of nowhere and really surprised me. I know it did get distribution in the US, maybe the UK as well. So it's definitely kind of out there. It's around. I've got it on Blu-ray, which is a US Blu-ray. So I'm not sure if it's on any streaming services, but it's called Rare Exports. And if you can find it, I heartily recommend it. It's really good fun.
Very good. Very good. I'll have to look that up. That wasn't on my list.
Yeah. It's the one I like to keep in the back pocket. It's a good one.
Well, my number 4 is a little more down the middle of the fairway. It's The Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, the original one. I enjoy the whole franchise. I enjoy all 3. They're not great movies, but for me, they capture a lot of the Christmas magic, and I have a great experience with them. I remember seeing the first one at the cinema in '94 with Tammy visiting the States from Hong Kong, and just having a wonderful Christmas vacation there, and then going as a family to see that. And it's always been a kind of a family favorite for us. We watch it probably almost every year. And so Tim Allen, many of you know that he takes on the role of he's Scott Calvin, a toy maker at a big corporation, but through a chance event, he ends up becoming Santa Claus. And again, there's nothing too deep here, but if you haven't seen it, it's just an enjoyable Christmas movie, and it always makes the Hackman Christmas family rotation.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I think you might have a slight advantage over me on some of these in that you have children. You know,
Yeah.
and certainly you've had to do that kind of bit of family entertainment
Mhm.
angle of it. I've definitely seen the first,
Mhm.
the Santa Claus, but I don't think I've seen any of the sequels. But I do remember, you know, it is good fun. It's a fun premise. It's the right kind of, you know, slightly magical idea that is perfect for kind of a Christmas movie, a Christmas comedy. You know, and again, it's all about how it impacts the family, I suppose, as well, isn't it? And so,
Tim Allen was at the height of his career, because I remember
mm,
when that movie came out, he was number one in three areas. He was on the number one rated TV show in America with Home Improvement. The Santa Claus opened up; it was the number one at the box office, and the book he had released, Never Stand Too Close to a Naked Man, was the number one
oh,
bestseller in the nation. So he was riding his wave back in '94, and
so
this
right before Toy Story as well.
yes, it was before Toy Story, just
Mm.
before.
Okay, cool. All right, no overlap there. Okay,
Nope.
so I am going to talk about um, where shall I go from here? Okay, well, let's go to my number two is The Nightmare Before Christmas. You know,
Tim Burton. Yes.
conceived by Tim Burton, directed by Henry Selick. Fantastic piece of stop motion animation, which manages to combine the holidays of Halloween and Christmas in a way I don't think anybody had ever thought of before that. And they kind of meld perfectly. I mean, I'm sure everybody knows it, or at least can recognize the characters from it. But it's about Jack Skellington, who is the prince of Pumpkin Town, or Halloween Town, and he stumbles across a magical doorway in the forest that magics him to Christmas Town, where he discovers, you know, this whole other world where you don't have to be gross and disgusting and scare everybody, but you can actually just be nice to one another. Inevitably, it all gets out of hand, and you know the Halloween crowd, you know, completely take over Christmas Town, kidnap Santa Claus, and it all goes sort of crazily wrong. And there's a race against time to put everything right again by Christmas morning. But I mean, this came out kind of at peak Tim Burton era. You know, he had done his two Batman films. He had done Edward Scissorhands. He'd done Beetlejuice, and so he was right. You know, he was in the pocket and being given as much creative freedom as possible. And at the time when it came out, I was a teenager and I was hugely into Tim Burton. He was like one of my favorite filmmakers at that time. And I remember going to see this at the cinema and just being completely sort of blown away just by the sheer sort of visual inventiveness of the whole thing. You know, all the character design was incredible. The songs were fantastic. You know, Danny Elfman, regular collaborator with Tim Burton, obviously did the Simpsons theme tune as well. He's very famous for that. And a former member of, I'm going to dig myself into a corner now, but a really famous band, but I can't remember which one it was now.
Yeah, he's married to Bridget Fonda as well.
Oh, is he? Danny Elfman.
Yeah, they've been married for like 30 years. I mean, it's one of the long Hollywood marriages. Ones. Yeah.
Good for them. Good for
Yeah.
them. But yeah, and so the musical numbers work, and I mean, I find that is often like make or break for these, you know, animated musicals. You know, the songs have got to stick, and this has got so many real sort of catchy show tune numbers.
Oh,
And for me, it's kind of like that perfect package. You know, it is, it's magical. It's family friendly, but again has that kind of slightly ghoulish edge to it, which I really appreciate, and I've realized is in at least one more of the movies that I've picked. I don't know why it is. There's something about. I guess you could. I'm exploring this off the cuff. But because at the end of the day, I think Christmas as we know it today. I mean, I'm not talking about like the Christmas story, but Christmas as we know it in the modern era. There is something slightly sort of weird about it, because it is ultimately about a guy who creeps into your house in the dead of night and leaves presents, you know. And so I guess the myth of it is the same setup as most horror movies. You know, it's about breaking and entering, but leaving something nice rather than murdering the whole family. And so I can see where there's a temptation to do just something a little bit mischievous.
He's got your eyes on you, and he's judging you all the time. Are you in the good list or the naughty list? And you know, he's always got his, you know, every move you make, every breath you take, he'll be watching you.
Wields incredible power.
Yes.
So anyway, yeah. So that's my second pick is The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Fantastic. Okay, so my number three then is again, it's another family favorite, I guess, reflecting the fact of the three kids I've had. Is Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Um, Again, it's another we must watch every year classic. Watching Arnold Schwarzenegger compete with another dad, in particular, other dads, the great Phil Hartman is in it, and just in a hugely wonderful comedic role. Um, Watching these dads compete to get one of the last Turbo Mans, the whole idea, like you're saying in Christmas, how things have changed, and the whole, every year there is that one gift that everyone has to have, and right. Of course there's a shortage on him. His son is Arnold Schwarzenegger's son. He's promised him, he had actually promised he's already got it, and of course he doesn't. And this
he's left until the last minute.
Yeah, as any dad does, and I think there's also, I have a soft spot in this film because I've been that dad, where I know I dropped the ball. I should have done this. I needed to order this sooner or whatever. And so watching this madcap race, Sinbad, of course, plays his nemesis, as much as a nemesis is in this movie, and watching them go toe to toe as they try to compete for the few remaining Turbomans in the city.
Yes? I'm trying to find a Turboman doll.
Me too, me too.
Do you have any more in the back? What?
It's just fun. There's still there's some parts in this movie that I laugh out loud, and I've seen it many, many times. So it's a good fun for all.
Excellent. Yeah, again, it's one I've seen, and because I was like a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. Mm-hmm. When I was a teenager, he was like my favorite actor, and I think something happened with Jingle All the Way where it was, it caught me just at the wrong age, where I was just a little bit kind of too old for it. Mm-hmm. And Schwarzenegger was like going down the comedy route a little bit more, and I'd been burnt once or twice before, with like Junior and things like that, and I was like, I'm going to hold off on this. So I didn't actually get to it till quite a bit later, and so I'm not sure if I fully appreciate it as much. I do remember though, wasn't it specifically inspired by, to come full circle on Tim Allen, by the mad rush there had been for Buzz Lightyear dolls? Like the year before or something like that.
I think that very well may be the case, because Turbo Man is definitely a play off of Buzz Lightyear for sure.
Right. But yeah, no, it's a great sort of fun, again, family friendly comedy. Arnold Schwarzenegger is a great physical comedian. I can appreciate that now, even if I couldn't back when I was younger.
No, that's true.
No, good pick. Good.
All
right. Well, continuing my trend of slightly ghoulish Christmas movies.
We're definitely seeing a trend on both sides. I got the wholesome family, and James has the macabre, grisly.
You've been looking out for your kids, and I've been sitting at home going, "Rrr."
Yeah.
Okay. My third pick is Gremlins.
Oh, yes.
1984's Gremlins from Joe Dante, written by Christopher Columbus, who obviously directed another big Christmas movie, which I won't mention because if your list is going the way it's going, then we might hear from that. So I mean, for those of you who haven't seen Gremlins, I mean it's the story of a similar kind of dad, who's out of town a lot, small town American dad, but he travels for business a lot, and he comes back and he's found just this strange, weird, out there gift for his son Billy, and it's an exotic, mysterious, otherworldly creature that he picks up in a Chinatown sort of bric-a-brac store. It's actually called a mogwai, which, if you know any Cantonese, a mogwai means just like a little devil. And I mean, my wife even refers to this film as Su Mogwai, which just means the Little Devils movie, which I think might even be the Chinese title of it, but don't quote me on that. And then and it's the story essentially of sort of the best gift in the world turning into the worst gift in the world, and about sort of, I guess it's about sort of it's a cautionary tale about a pet is not just for Christmas, essentially. Right. I think the mogwai it looks cute and looks innocent enough, but if you feed it after midnight, it turns into a monster. That then, if you get water on it, it multiplies, and there are all these very strict rules, and it's a whole lot of responsibility. The poor Billy, even with his best efforts, is not up to the task.
Right.
And all hell breaks loose in this very small, very wholesome town, which I believe is even called something like Bedford Falls after the town in
Oh, yeah,
It's a
interesting.
Wonderful
I forgot
Life.
about that. Yeah.
And I think, actually, that my first exposure to It's a Wonderful Life was in Gremlins. There's a sequence where
Yes.
his mum is watching
Yes.
the climax of It's a Wonderful Life on TV, where he's just sort of come back from his whole ordeal and been given the second chance by Clarence, and he's running down the snowy main street going, I love you, Bedford, I love you, savings and loan and whatever. And I think that's the first thing I ever saw regarding It's a Wonderful Life. So I mean that's a great, again, sort of horror comedy, family friendly. I think it is family friendly. It's a little bit. There's a couple of little pointed edges, if I remember.
If I'm not mistaken, I think both that and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom were responsible for the PG-13 rating.
I think you might be right.
I'm almost certain that Gremlins was one of the instigators for the PG-13. So there was a lot of parents that were not happy with a PG rating on that, but they weren't quite ready to give it an R either, and that's where PG-13 came from.
Yes, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think it was those two films. And you can see why. I mean, like I said, there are some points. There's just a gremlin wields a gun at one point, wields a knife at another point. Like a carving knife in a kitchen, and there are some gross bits where a gremlin is in a food mixer or exploded in the microwave, that kind of thing. And it's all good, gooey fun, really. But it's for younger children, it's a little bit shocking, a little bit confrontational.
I love the homage line in The Hangover when Bradley Cooper says, what does he come with rules? What is he, a gremlin?
Exactly. It was such a phenomenon. It became so much, ingrained in the zeitgeist at that moment.
Yeah.
I mean, it's classic. Steven Spielberg is like the producer on it, and it was right at that time when he was basically doing no wrong and could do whatever he wants. He had done, obviously. Well, we don't need to list what Steven Spielberg's been doing.
I forgot what the kid's name is. Was Phoebe Cates the girl in it?
Phoebe Cates is the girl in it.
Yeah.
I can't remember what her character's name is now, but
I can see the kid,
Kate.
the boy in my
Zach Galligan is Billy.
Zach Galligan, yes. Now that rings a bell. Okay,
yeah.
good.
And I remember this was. I don't know if you had this, but we had a Panini sticker albums in the UK. Okay, so it was mainly for sport. The Panini was the company, and every like, let me humor you and say every baseball season, okay, you buy this album and it would have all the teams in it. On every page, you would have like a spot to put a sticker of every player, and then you had to go and buy the stickers, but you didn't know which stickers you're buying. So you're buying, it's like bubblegum cards, I guess, something like that, and then you have to, you end up with mountains of the same ones, and you have to swap them with your friends until you've collected all of them and completed the album. So it costs a hell of a lot of money. It's a complete waste of time, but kids love it. And I was never very good at the sports ones because I could never really remember which players I had and which players I didn't. But they did movie ones as well, and it was right at that time. And I did Gremlins, and I did Back to the Future, and I think I did The Black Cauldron, the Disney movie as well. And so this is really sort of seared into my brain, these still images from the movie, as much of the movie as itself, because I've been collecting all of the stickers. So I had like a kind of a flick book, if you like, of the entire movie, before I'd even sort of seen the movie, I think. But yeah, for me, this is just, classic Christmas stuff. It's all set small town. There's something about small town that just says Christmas. There are so many great characters. Dick Miller complaining about sort of foreign machinery and all the rest of it, and it's just a really kind of cool film. And every year I will stick this one on, and this puts me in the Christmas spirit.
Very good. Well, our next one, we've got two more to go. We have not matched yet. If I'm going to match you, I think it might be on this one.
Okay.
Die Hard.
Yes.
Yeah. Because that's almost becoming like It's a Wonderful Life as a quintessential holiday Christmas movie.
It's the B-side, I think, now.
That's become actually our Christmas Eve movie, is we watch Die Hard.
Fantastic.
The kids are getting older.
Yeah, well, that's good. It's good. They're like, well, we don't want to watch Tim Allen anymore. Can we watch a bit of Bruce Willis as well?
The Alan Rickman plays what's the character's name in Die
Hans
Hard?
Gruber.
Hans Gruber. I love
Yeah.
the meme every year where you say, Christmas doesn't officially begin until Hans Gruber falls from Nakatomi Plaza.
Yeah. It's like the ball dropping in Times Square.
That's it. It's the mark of the official start of the Christmas season.
And then Alan Rickman had that great callback as well in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves a couple of years later when he plays the Sheriff of Nottingham. And he's getting so annoyed with the townsfolk that he's like, and call off Christmas. He just kind of cancels Christmas.
And call off Christmas.
Which is great fun. Yeah, no, I mean, yes, everybody loves Die Hard. It was so pivotal in sort of the action genre, the evolution of the action genre. And, there's been this long-running debate, is it a Christmas movie? Isn't it a Christmas movie? Yes, of course it's a
Absolutely, it's a Christmas movie.
It takes place at a Christmas party on Christmas Eve. What more do you want?
He sends the killers down with a Santa hat and a ho ho ho, and this is I was going to make a quick point as far as film buffs go, that unlike a lot of the 80s action movies, which I think we can still appreciate for the nostalgia's sake, but they don't always hold up as much as we would like, Die Hard totally holds up. That movie is not, you don't just watch it for 80s nostalgia. That movie, barring a few technological changes, that movie could have been made last year.
Yeah, no, and I think that, even like the technological side of things, because everything was done practically, back then. That was the difference, and it was real stunt work, it's real helicopters, real explosions, all of this kind of stuff.
A better day, I like to say.
Sorry?
In some ways, a better day.
Well, for sure, and that stuff doesn't date because a fireball is a fireball. A crashing helicopter is a crashing helicopter. It's going to always kind of look the same. And I think it's as soon as sort of CGI gets in the mix, is when things start getting kind of weird. And I think because the fashions at the end, there's a bit of big hair. I mean, Bonnie Bedelia's hair gets a bit.
Yeah.
I
think she had the shoulder pads going too.
She's got shoulder pads too.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you've got the guys dressed in suits and or vests, and those things never kind of really go out of style. No. It's funny because
the coke on the nose was very 80s. The colleague that that was very Office 80s.
Yes, although I suspect that not a lot has changed in certain circles. But what is funny, because I thought, okay, well, I've got to put Die Hard in. It was like the first thing I put on my list, and I was like, you know what, Die Hard is almost like It's a Wonderful Life. And so what I actually wanted to do is take an opportunity to defend the oft maligned Die Hard 2. Because a lot of people just dismiss that movie, say it's rubbish, go, oh, well, it was just repeating the same thing. But the repetition became kind of the signature of the franchise. It was almost like, oh, how can the same stuff happen to the same guy twice? And the fact that it was happening again, and he was running into terrorists on Christmas again, and at least this time he's outside in the snow. I love Die Hard 2.
I agree with you.
A lot of people dismiss it as like one of the weakest in the franchise.
No. To me, they went downhill after 2, but to me, 2, it's who's the main baddie in that? I love that actor from Shawshank Redemption. William Sadler. Sadler, yes.
Yeah,
he's perfect in that movie. Not quite at Hans Gruber level, but I mean, he's a really good villain. Yeah.
And I remember, there's a great twist in it halfway through, which I won't spoil in case some people don't know, but which came as a real kind of shock to me, when you realize some people aren't exactly who you thought they were. And there's a lot, it has to be on a bigger scale, it is a sequel at the end of the day, but I think it's one of the times when they've actually done it well, and they don't just retread the steps of the first one, but when they do the callbacks and the echoes and whatever, they make that the whole point of it. If you like, and that it becomes kind of the whole joke in the movie that it's all happening again. Although they're not, it's not related in any way. I think if they were going to do a sequel now, it would end up being, directly connected. It would
Yeah,
be
Hans Gruber's brother or something. Yeah,
which groan actually does happen in the third one. Jeremy Irons is Hans Gruber's brother, and you're like, oh, it's so unnecessary. But in this one, you got Franco Nero, the great Franco Nero, as a sort of South American drug lord who is being brought in, and it's all about It's all about rescuing him, isn't it? That's the kind of terrorist plot, is freeing him and they take down the whole airport in order to do it. But I think it's great. I think it's great, and that.
Well, there you go, listeners. Do you agree? Put it in the comments. Is Die Hard 2 worthy of the canon? And 2, is it a Christmas movie alongside the original Die Hard?
I think I'm going to watch Die Hard 2 this Christmas, just to, maybe even instead of Die Hard 1, just to
shake things up a bit.
Exactly. So that means we've got one left each.
Yeah.
And so far, we've only picked one the same.
And I'm rather guessing that my last one is not going to be your pick.
No, I'd be surprised, because mine's a bit. I didn't intentionally pick it to be my last one.
Yeah.
It's.
Do you want to go or I'll go?
No, you go. You go.
Okay. Mine is, I'm going way back. Classic. Miracle on 34th Street, the original with Natalie Wood and Maureen O'Hara. I just love that movie. I've loved it since I was a little kid. It really restores the magic, and it reminds us there really is a Santa Claus.
Aw. You know what? And I think this is another film that, a bit like It's a Wonderful Life, doesn't really have the same cachet in the UK. I had never heard of that film until the remake with Richard Attenborough came out.
Right.
Which was, I guess, early 90s, something like that. And I was like,
it was a good remake. It was good, but I'm going to go with the original on this.
For sure. I mean, so I saw the remake first, and then I think only then did I find out, this is a remake of a much earlier film. And actually, you know what? Have I even seen the original? I might not have even seen the original.
Ooh,
I know.
Do yourself a favor. It's it's a strong movie. It's a really good movie.
Who plays Kris Kringle in it?
It was a famous actor at the time. I don't have it at my fingertips.
Okay.
Yeah, my bad.
It was a big name, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was. And
so remind me. So he's like a department store Santa who claims to be the real Santa Claus or something like that.
Essentially, he's down kind of just watching the Macy's parade, and he sees a Santa Claus, like a department store Santa Claus, and he's been drinking. And he just feels, oh, this is horrible that this is happening. And of course, the head of the department store, Maureen O'Hara, she's got to fire this guy. And then she's looking for another guy. And hey, how about you? And it's not realizing it's the real Santa Claus. But what's really good about this is there's no like big magic. He doesn't do tricks. You're left in this whole movie. Is he Santa Claus? Is he not? Is he not Santa Claus? They actually go all the way to trial for his sanity. Only at the very, very end is there just the slightest tip off that it really is Santa Claus. But again, it's not like I just realized I completely missed one of my favorite Christmas movies. I forgot to mention.
Hold on, because I've already making a mental note of what we haven't spoken about. So
as soon as I said that, I thought, oh shoot, are we really on? There isn't one more, because there's one I've got to put in. I totally screwed up.
Well, you too late.
Yeah, I'll have to put it as an honorable mention.
We'll do the big post,
because I was just going to say just like this movie, and then I thought, wait a second, I didn't put that movie. Yeah, but there's no over the top magic in this, and you're left to wonder, is he or is he not? And I think that's what makes the movie particularly special.
Maybe I'll make an effort this Christmas to dig it out, find it, and watch it. Because I've got a horrible feeling. The more I think about it, the more I may never have actually seen it.
Yeah. So your number one?
So my number one, I mean, this isn't my number one, but my fifth pick, if you like.
Your fifth pick, yes.
It's there's a strong argument that it's not a Christmas movie. but it is a movie that's set at Christmas, and it kind of plays into it. But it's definitely one of my favorite movies, and that is Terry Gilliam's Brazil.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah.
have. What?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. But
Okay.
here's my
Okay,
case.
you're stretching the parameters here.
It's absolutely set at Christmas. I mean, it's a dystopian Orwellian vision of a nightmarish future in which an office drone gets caught up in, through a typo in the hunt for a subversive criminal, and he essentially gets kind of dragged into this complete sort of Big Brother machine. But it all takes place over Christmas, and Gilliam plays a lot with the kind of sort of mundane, repetitious nature of Christmas. It's in this kind of industrialized society where everybody's just going through the motions all the time, and there's an element of Christmas, and certainly the commercialization of Christmas, that has become like that. In as much as we're listing our favorite Christmas movies, there's a certain routine and there are certain traditions that, if you wanted to look at them with a cynical eye, you could say that we're kind of trapped in this sort of cycle of events that you have to go through every year at Christmas without kind of thinking. It's like, have to see the family, have to have roast turkey, have to go and sing my carols, and have to give each other presents, and have to do this under the mistletoe, and have to watch my Christmas movies, have to watch It's a Wonderful Life, have to do all of this. And Gilliam manages to really interweave it with the kind of robotic conveyor belt kind of drone nature of the whole sort of society, down to the point where at every turn everybody's giving each other a Christmas gift, and it's the exact same gift that it's this weird kind of sort of executive office toy thing, almost like the was it Galileo's Cradle or whatever it's called. But everybody's giving everybody like the same gift all the time, that it's completely reduced the whole notion of gift giving just to sort of literally going through the motions. It doesn't even mean what it is,
right?
Mean anything what it is, because everybody's getting the same one. And and then it all unfolds over this kind of sort of wintry urban sort of backdrop that could be kind of New York, or could be London, or could be, and there's something, I think, affectionate, something that we like about sort of cities at Christmas, with all the lights and with the snow and all the rest of it, and all the music, because that's where you get all the music. It's where you get completely overwhelmed with everything. There's the small town thing, where it's all like warm and nourishing and homey and the rest of it. But then there's the sort of seeing an entire city on the same page for once every year. There's an element of that. And so I know it's a weird choice, but it is a film that my brain goes to whenever I think of Christmas movies. I'm not by any stretch saying it's my ultimate Christmas movie or anything like that, but it definitely is a Christmas movie that I absolutely love.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's our top 5, or I should say 5 that you should consider.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if you haven't, and we've both found films that the other person hasn't seen.
Yeah, by and large, different lists. I do have to throw in the honorable mention of Elf. I can't believe I forgot Elf, but Will Ferrell.
As we're going through the list, I was like, "There's no Elf. We haven't said Elf. We haven't said Home Alone. We haven't said Scrooged, or any incarnation of Dickens' is A Christmas Carol."
Yeah, and that's. Those were there. Elf, I genuinely was on my list, and I screwed up by, I think, adding the fourth Wiseman. I wanted to be a little obscure, and and somehow I bumped it unintentionally. Home Alone, I enjoy Home Alone, but it's not in my must sees. I can go 3, 4, 5 years without seeing Home Alone. I'll watch Elf every single Christmas.
Fantastic. Oh yeah, I mean, Home Alone. Yeah, it doesn't do it for me. But as I saw your list and you were going the Santa Claus, Jingle All the Way, I was like, oh, here we go. Home Alone's coming next, and that's Chris Columbus, who wrote Gremlins.
Yeah.
But so no. I mean, but, obviously, I think what we have illustrated is that there are lots of worthwhile Christmas movies, and we would love to have your recommendations as well.
Yeah. What are your top 5? Feel free to put them in the comments below. And James, this is the first of an ongoing series we're going to have of top 5 movies.
Yeah, I think so. You know, every now and again, when we feel like it, when the urge
Yeah.
takes us, we're going to
Yeah.
drop a little one of these and hopefully continue to surprise each other as well as everybody else.
When you mentioned Tim Burton earlier, I suddenly thought, oh, top 5, 10 Tim Burton movies.
That could work. That
Yeah.
could work. I think there's a number of filmmakers we could be like, okay, top 5
That's
of
it.
these.
Anyhow, well, Merry Christmas, James.
Merry Christmas, Steve. See you soon.
See you soon.